Hello, everybody, and welcome to One Piece Chapter 1004 Quattro Review. The chapter where Oda decides to cut away from hybrid form Kaido and go downstairs to set stuff up. I don't know what the monkey shirt says on the cover page, but the scene featuring Chopper really did get me to think what would happen actually if Chopper ate one of Otama's kibidango. I mean, not that Chopper needs to become an ally or anything because he already is, but I'm assuming that if he were to eat a kibidango, he would need to follow Otama's orders because he's technically a reindeer, right? We find out that Speed, or Horselia, or Horselina, has been part of Otama's plan all along, and so she's helping Tama distribute her kibidango to the gifters, and one of them is Briscola. And I kind of like how Oda set this up where it's like, they've been defeated, so they've been wounded, and the reason why they're so eager to consume the kibidango is because Speed is telling them that it'll actually help heal them, sort of like Manchuri's powers back in Dressrosa. I also appreciated that Tama's ability has a limit to it. Like, you can tell she's getting really drained, really tired due to producing so many kibidango. So it's not like this infinite, limitless ability where she can just spam it. It's like it actually takes a lot of energy. She says she wants Momonosuke to become the shogun. So there you have it. Yet another piece of evidence that points towards Momonosuke staying in Wano as the shogun by the end of the arc. And two of her main allies include Gazelle Man, which is very useful because he's very speedy, and Daifugo. And we see Daifugo giving some kibidango to Masurka, Gorilla Girl, Masurka, and then also Poker, the Snake Man. And last time we saw Masurka and Poker, they were on the staircase leading up to the 4th floor. So essentially, these kibidango are spreading all over the place very, very fast. Like, the entire castle of gifters is going to end up being converted very, very soon. One of the things that this chapter did get me to think about, which I rarely think about when it comes to reading One Piece, is the ethics involved when it comes to Tama's ability. Because one of the themes of the series is freedom, right? Like, Luffy wants to be the Pirate King because he wants to be the freest man in the world. And here you have Tama feeding these kibidango to these gifters to make them act sort of, maybe not against their free will, but to make them do things that they normally wouldn't do out of their free will. Granted, one of the things that Kaido does is that he tries to break people's wills, right? As we saw in Udon. And then him and Orochi also fed these starving people these smileys. And we already know about the side effects of the smileys. So it's not like, Kaido's side is better. I'm just kind of curious if there's going to be a resolution to Tama's ability that is more in line with the theme of freedom of the series, or if it's just going to be like, they were under the effect of the kibidango this whole time. Like, maybe at one point the gifters get hit by salt water and the effect wears off, and then they really have to make a choice. Anyway, we cut away from all that to see Sasaki completely tanking General Left. So he counters with a tackle, and Frankie completely holds the tackle with one arm, which is unexpected but not surprising. I don't know how many people agree with this, but to me it's actually a fact that Frankie currently is the 5th strongest Straw Hat. Like, the only people that are above him in the crew are Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and Jinbei. So that's why I'm saying that it's unexpected that he's able to handle the tackle so well, but it's not surprising. So he hauls Sasaki into a wall, and the wall kind of shatters, but then Sasaki kind of uses the momentum of the throw to be able to get back up, or to, find his footing. But think about that feat for a moment. Like, how strong does General Frankie have to be able to throw a full-blown Triceratops into a wall with one arm? So it becomes very obvious that Sasaki needs help in this form to fight Frankie. If I were him, I probably would have gone hybrid by now. So he tells his gifters to hold Frankie in place, which isn't really fair. I mean, they even stop him from launching his rockets by shutting his shoulder. But it ends up not mattering anyway, because thanks to Usopp, Nami, and Tama arriving with an army of gifters behind them, the gifters that are holding Frankie down get distracted themselves, and that allows Frankie an opportunity to be able to break free from their grip and so Sasaki actually ends up taking out his own men. Ulti comes in there with a headbutt aimed at Nami, but Nami hits her with a Thunderlance Tempo, which is the same attack that she used back in Enies Lobby to be able to take down Khalifa. Now the way this attack works is kind of cool because Nami, first she creates a little thundercloud, and the thundercloud just goes away. And then the thundercloud releases lightning, like a thunderbolt. And so she uses the climb attack as a lightning rod to be able to draw in the lightning from the thundercloud. But the point is to be able to get the opponent in the middle between yourself and the thundercloud so that they get hit by the lightning on its way to the climb attack. And we know that Ulti has observation haki, but I think the explanation as to why she didn't sense the attack is because the attack technically isn't coming from Nami. It's coming from a thundercloud. I also think that since we know that Ulti has both armament and observation haki, I think Sasaki should also have, at the very least, I think Sasaki should also have armament haki. I mean, there's a panel where he's preparing to charge Frankie, and you do see his horn sort of glistening because it's so sharp. I don't know if he's using armament in that panel, but I do think he should have it. And if he has it, then I also hope that Frankie is able to finally activate his own armament haki to be able to win the fight. Obviously, Nami's attack isn't enough to take out Ulti. She even says it herself. She's going to need stronger lightning. And so I feel like that's foreshadowing one of two things. Either she's going to get Zeus back and be able to use his lightning, or she's going to use the lightning that is already outside. You know, the lightning that Kaido, Big Mom, and the other 5 Supernova have been fighting under. After that, Usopp uses his sniping skills, and he basically converts the entire armored squad that was under Sasaki to join Tama, him, and Nami. So now the Armored Squad is an ally group, which is kind of cool because some members of the Armored Squad were like beetles and stuff, and Usopp has like this beetle theme to him sometimes, like his kabuto, right? That's like supposed to be the horn of a kabuto beetle. Also Heracles, the guy who trained him during the time skip, was also dressed as a beetle. So it just kind of fits that now he has like these armored beetles as allies. Sasaki gets upset about this, actually so upset that he doesn't notice Frankie coming in with his Frankie Shogun sword and using this new attack. I think it's like a laser sword attack, you know, using like a light beam. And he actually deals damage to Sasaki, actually draws blood. And I don't know if you remember this, but back in Fishman Island, when General Frankie was first revealed, the sword was kind of a gag. Like, it was just kind of there for the Shogun to look cool, and that was it. Because in Fishman Island, like, Frankie takes the sword and he doesn't use it properly, and I think that's kind of Oda saying, like, you know, Zoro is the swordsman of the crew, not Frankie, and Frankie gets to, you know, have a lot more fun with the sword. So he takes the sword out and he just like starts spinning like a helicopter, and so everybody there starts jumping the sword. And they avoid getting hit because, again, it's not being used properly, and it's a gag. But then in this chapter, it's not just the blade that Frankie is using, it's actually a laser that's doing the cutting, right? And so I feel like Frankie learned his lesson that he's not a swordsman, but he is an expert when it comes to lasers. And so these are the results of him combining those two things into one attack. I was very happy to learn more about the ability of the Three-Eyed Tribe, or the people who I think all belong to the Three-Eyed Tribe. But essentially we learn how Bao Huang sees things, which is essentially that her line of sight is connected to these animals. In chapter 993, we saw that she spotted Yamato and Momonosuke through the eyes of a cat. And in this chapter, she's seeing the scabbards through a mouse. And they both have that piece of paper with the eye symbol on it. And the definition on the image of the scabbards is just way too high for it to be observation haki. With observation, you just get like these bright silhouettes, similar to the way that Fujitora and Usopp do. Also, with observation haki, the darkness of the room wouldn't matter. Like, Bao Huang would be able to detect things regardless of the lighting if she was using haki, which I believe she's not. I think she's actually using the power of her awakened eye from the Three-Eyed Tribe. Now, there are two more supporting elements in this chapter that support the idea that those people with the eye symbol are actually from the Three-Eyed Tribe. The first one is, if you look at the panel where King appears, right? We see King, and behind him, there's a bird. There's like a harpy. How many eye symbols does that harpy have? 3, right? 1 on the forehead, 1 covering their face, and 2 on the wings. So that's 3. I think that the reason it's 3 is because that's actually covering an eye each. So there's going to be an eye in the middle and then 2 eyes on the wings. But the most important piece of evidence that we get in this chapter is what Black Maria tells Sanji about the girl with the eye symbol. And she says this to Sanji. She says, "Sanji, speak to this girl here, and your voice will carry all throughout the castle." Now, why is that a dead giveaway that these are members of the Three-Eyed Tribe? Well, back in Whole Cake Island, if you remember, the reason for why Big Mom wanted Pudding to awaken her third eye is because that would allow her to read the Poneglyphs. Now, if you go back to chapter 966, chapter 966, that's during the Odin flashback. In that chapter, there is a scene where Odin and Roger go to Skypiea, and in Skypiea there is a poneglyph, and Roger says it was actually very easy to find this poneglyph because the poneglyph is full of very strong voices. Now, this was Roger's ability to hear the voice of all things, okay? So he's special. Now, here's the thing. Even though he was able to sort of like hear the poneglyph, he wasn't able to translate it. He wasn't able to read it. He could hear it, he could sense it, but he couldn't interpret it. That's why Odin was so important, because Odin was the translator, if you will. So, with that in mind, in this chapter we find out that the girl with the eye symbol, she has the ability to project, increase the volume of somebody's voice, right? So, I think this chapter confirms that the way the people of the Three-Eyed Tribe can read the poneglyphs is because they have the ability to amplify the voices of the past. So it's not like they can actually read the symbols like Robin does, right? Robin is special. She's an academic, right? She studied the language. And so she's a translator, which makes her special. And I kind of think maybe that's why Kaido still wants her. Black Maria even says in this chapter that it might take years for Robin to finish her job once she's under Kaido. So to me, that gets me to think that maybe Kaido wants Robin to translate some texts, right? Maybe access some things that require study that can't be accessed through the ability of the awakened third eye. But yeah, I definitely think that this chapter confirms that the way that the third eye is able to make sense of the poneglyphs is by increasing the volume and amplifying the voices left on the stone. King says that he's busy. I'm assuming he's busy with Marco, that he's busy fighting him. Hopefully that's what he's doing. And so Black Maria volunteers to go to the Scabbards because she and Sanji are currently on the 3rd floor and the Scabbards are currently on the 2nd floor. Now, the best theory to come out of this entire chapter is that the girl standing next to Black Maria with the eye symbol, the one that Black Maria told Sanji about, is actually Robin. That is the best theory to come out of this chapter. I don't care if it's true or not. That is an excellent, excellent theory. The only argument I can possibly make about that girl not being Robin is that back in chapter 999, where we last saw Robin, Robin was wearing a different kimono. The pattern on her kimono was different. That being said, I do think enough time has passed since we actually saw Robin, so maybe she changed. Or maybe that girl is one of Robin's clones. Because espionage, stealth, that's Robin's specialty, right? She's a spy. So I think that theory makes perfect sense. And I'm also willing to bet that Sanji knows that that's Robin. Because his observation hockey is just so over the top, especially when it comes to women, right? So if that really is Robin, then I'm pretty sure that he already knows. I think that's why he said what he said. Don't underestimate Robin, Black Maria, because she's actually right next to you. Sanji's all bloodied up. We don't know what happened. We can only make assumptions. But my take on what might have happened is this. So we already know that Sanji can deal with the spider webs, right? Because in I think it was chapter 997, where we see that his legs are tied with the spider web. But then in chapter 998, we see him running away and his legs are free. So that gets me to think that he must have busted out of those spider webs. So he beat up all the guys in the room, and we know he doesn't fight women, so that was always a no-go. But what I think could have happened is that maybe he noticed that Robin was infiltrating the room, and so maybe he allowed himself to get captured, to get beaten even, to act as a distraction, so that Black Maria wouldn't notice that Robin had arrived. Because I feel like if it were just up to him and Robin hadn't shown up, I mean, I think that he should be able to use his raid suit, the invisibility feature of his raid suit, to escape.
Then again, Sanji doesn't like using his raid suit anyway, if he can avoid it, because it reminds him of his family.
Now, when it comes to the identity of the mysterious person in the room, the 10th person, to me there's only two options. It has to be either Toki or Hiyori. To me, Hiyori makes the most sense because we haven't seen her in a while. Also, if it were Toki, the problem with Toki is that her devil fruit is just way too broken. Like, it is just so overpowered to be able to leap through time into the future. I mean, unless you add some restrictions to her power, things can get unnecessarily complicated. So I think the best bet is that it's Hiyori. Not just because she has to show up at some point during this whole thing, but also if that's where Black Maria is headed, then to me it makes perfect sense for them to run into each other because perhaps Black Maria knows Hiyori. They know about each other. They have some history because, remember, Black Maria and Hiyori were in the same line of work, which is, the pleasure halls and all that stuff. We've also been talking about how it seems that Act 3 is getting ready to close up. And if you remember, each time Oda decides to end an act in Wano, every time we see Hiyori with the shamisen. So she plays her song and the curtain closes. So I feel like that could be the plan, to have Hiyori show up and play us out of the act once the tragedy strikes and things begin to seem hopeless so that you can up the stakes in the story. Also, Kaido's side still doesn't know that Hiyori is still alive. So there has to be like this, big reveal moment for the people on Kaido's side to learn the truth. So again, the Scabbards are on the second floor, Black Maria and Sanji are on the third floor, and Sanji seemed kind of worried about the Scabbards, so he might actually follow Black Maria downstairs. I saw this bird's eye view map recently. Somebody had drawn like Onigashima and all the characters and where they were placed. And according to that map, Queen and also Orochi's head, but more importantly, Queen is also on the second floor. And both Queen and Sanji, they're both fans of Hiyori. So maybe they bump into each other there and they start fighting over her or something. I think this chapter makes it very, very clear which matchups are pretty much set in stone. Frankie versus Sasaki is set. I think Jinbei versus Who's Who is also pretty much a given. This chapter added a lot more validity to Black Maria versus Robin. Ulti versus Nami is also pretty much a given. We did see page 1 in the chapter very briefly, like in the background, very small. But I do think that Usopp's matchup could possibly still change if Oda wanted it to change. So right now, the ones that I'm not sure of, like the ones that I still have my doubts about in terms of matchups are Sanji's, Usopp's, Brooks, and Chopper. If Chopper is even going to get a matchup this arc, I don't know. But yeah, those are the ones that I'm not like ready to lock in yet. All the other ones, you can lock them in. Like I'm pretty sure those are the matchups for the arc. Also, Yamato still has to fight somebody, and she's really strong, so it's not like she can just fight fodder. It has to be worth it, I think. And we did see that hint of foreshadowing when she was up against Sasaki and her fangs started showing. So there's something going on with Yamato there that we still need to explore, and I think that will be explored with a matchup. I'm just going to give you my ideal situation, okay? So Yamato fights page 1, all right? We find out that Orochi is still alive. Usopp fights Orochi. Chopper, he takes care of the people, heals them up, and then he actually takes out all of the remaining numbers. maybe the numbers that were KO'd get back up, and then he has to fight them as well. Plus, healing people. I think that's enough for Chopper. Brook versus Apu. Marco fights King, but because Marco has been using his Phoenix Flame to heal people, he's not at full, and so King gets the advantage over Marco. And so later, Zoro comes down from the roof to confront King, but King isn't really at full anymore because he's been fighting Marco. And so Zoro and King fight, and then Sanji versus Queen. That's what my future site, Observation Hockey, is predicting. Actually, maybe you can have Chopper fight Page 1, and then Yamato gets to fight Jack. But let me know what you think, because there's still room for predictions, to lock in your predictions, because there are still some factors that are up in the air. I kind of suspected that Oda was going to cut away from hybrid form Kaido, because that's what he did with Neko and Inu when they went Sulong. It's like, you're going to get the Mink Sulong forms. Nope. You cut downstairs. And I don't know if he wants to show us more hybrid forms from Kaido's men before he actually shows us Kaido's hybrid form. We've seen Page 1's hybrid form. We've seen Ulti's hybrid form. I'm assuming that the spider legs on Black Maria, that's kind of her hybrid form. We haven't seen Sasaki's hybrid form, or Who's, or Jack's, or Queen's, or King's. So we might see some of those before we get to hybrid form Kaido. That's gonna do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. A lot of the stuff that we get in this chapter, I think a lot of us already knew that we were gonna get eventually, but it still moves the plot along and it sets up different things. So it's an okay chapter of One Piece. I hope you guys have a good day, good week. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Thanks again. Take care, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.